By the time Ashley made his opening address, the studio was crackling with tension. "Cyberspace, the final frontier," he began, standing in the centre of the studio. "We have sought out new worlds and new civilizations. We have boldly gone where no man has gone before, and what has been our reward? An explosion in crime, gambling, pornography, exploitation, video gaming, and vice. A good old-fashioned word for a bad old-fashioned evil. No laws stand between a 7-year-old child and the corruption of his innocence. We are told nothing can be done about this. Is that true? Is there no such thing as political will? Are we already victims of the machine, or is it just possible that humanity, as it always has, still retains the power to say no? Is it too late to decide simply to walk away? Against the anarchy and degradation represented by the slimier corners of the net stands one institution, ancient, kindly, wise, noble, but apparently powerless in the face of man's lust for technology. We call this institution the family. What a pitifully small thing it seems when ranged against the colossal vested interests and unquenchable greed of e-commerce and the great e-future. Is it possible that the still, small voice of the family can stand up to such howling din? Can the British family truly resist the threat of the net? Music, applause, titles. A collage of images showing Ashley Barson Garland, bald, unprepossessing, ugly even, but somehow made glorious by his very ordinariness. He stands, he swoops, he glides, he bobs his way through ranks of admiring studio guests. There are stand-up rows and tearful reconciliations. The face of Barson Garland stands above them all. The final image, his summing up, directly into camera, his eyes holding yours as he weaves together the threads of the week's debate. End music, end titles, end applause. A double-sided plasma widescreen television was hung high in Cotter.com's atrium. The Atrium Café, as usual, was busy. At 8 in the evening, most offices are the lonely province of security guards, cleaners, and a handful of career climbers. Simon Cotter found that often he had to remind his staff gently to go home and help themselves to a life. He was there himself in the atrium that night, laughing with the others at Barson Garland's introductory speech. "Dear me," he said, peering over the top of his sunglasses as the title sequence played. "It seems that the net is in for a spanking, guys." "He talks," said Albert Fenderman, who was sitting at the same table, "as if everyone who has anything to do with the net comes from another planet. I mean, we've all got families too, doesn't he realise that?" "It's hard to imagine that he has a family anyway," observed an intense young girl standing by their table and looking up at the screen with distaste. "Actually," said Albert sheepishly, "he's an old friend of my family." "Really?" Simon was intrigued. "We should be polite about him, then." "Christ, no, I never liked him. He always spoke to me like a schoolmaster, even when I was young." "And you're so old now, of course," said the girl, who was one of the best programmers in the country, but barely 20 herself. "Shh!" hissed someone from another table. "There's Brad Messiter." Barson Garland was standing in front of a guest known to everyone at Cotter's. Brad Messiter had founded the fastest-growing free internet service provider in the country, and Ashley was preparing to roast him whole. "You advertise during children's television programs and in children's magazines. Your giveaway CDs are available on sweet shop counters, packaged with cartoons and the faces of football stars, yet your service offers no filters and no parental lockouts. Parents can buy fully functional gatekeeper packages which," the hapless Messiter began, but Ashley swept on regardless. "You'll get your chance to speak later. For the moment, let's just set out what you do. You offer a full internet package including unrestricted access to newsgroups of the most revolting kind. We're all familiar with commercial websites, many of which, it's true, are guarded by some kind of credit card security, but newsgroups offer pictures and movies to anyone. Anyone. Let me run by some of the groups a child on your service might come across without the need for anything other than a personal computer and infant curiosity. alt.binary.pictures.bestiality. alt.binary.pictures.lolita, alt.binary.pictures.foreskins, and there are literally hundreds of others here that are too grotesque, too bizarre, and too horrifying for me to mention on air. This is the nature of the business that has made you a millionaire many times over. True or not true, Mr. Messiter? There are thousands of magazines and photographs currently in the postal system. True or not true, Mr. Messiter? Currently being processed by the Royal Mail, technically the property of the Queen, which you would find just as offensive, and which, true or not true, Mr. Messiter? True or not true, chorused the studio audience. True or not true? Yes, it's true, but as I say, it's true. Ashley whipped the microphone away and walked towards the camera. Mr. Messiter's twisted logic would have us believe that Her Majesty the Queen is somehow a pornographer, which tells us all we need to know about Mr. Messiter, I think.